Dobar dan svima. Ja sam Steve Quarrie. Barbara pronounced my name very well. Nila. Ja razumem srpski jezik, ali gramatika je užasna. Mnogo lakše iz Niš. Ko ovdje iz Niš? Nico. Okay. I'm going to speak in English. I understand Serbian. Mogu da pričam vrlo loš srpski jezik, ali ja neću. The reason that I'm going to speak in English is for two reasons. One is it's easier for me. Jednostavno. The second is that if you are going to be taking part in EU-funded projects, those projects will mainly be in English and all the proposals will be written in English. So you need to be familiar with the English language. Izvinjavam se ako neko ne razume engleski jezik, ali šta da radim? So, any scientists here? Naučnici. Do we have any scientists? Scientists? No scientists. No? Well, that's not a good start.
I consider myself a scientist occasionally.
Pardon, okay. Ali nije problem. Nije problem. Just a couple of words on my background. Yes, I'm naučnik. I'm not a businessman, so I don't wear smart suits. But it does mean that I have spent a career writing project proposals to do research. I used to work for the Ministry of Science and Technological Development for 3 years, giving advice to scientists on how to write project proposals. At the moment, I'm a visiting professor both at Newcastle University. I don't know why it's the business school, because I know nothing about business, but I'm also teaching aspects of science and research and writing project proposals to PhD students at Belgrade University. So my major expertise is in Quarrie Program 7, and I've had higher than average success rate at getting proposals funded. So I shall be talking about FP7 for a bit beyond Horizon 2020. So, I'm also an evaluator for EPA projects. I evaluated 3 EPA project proposals last month in February. So I can see from the other side what is needed to write project proposals successfully. So I write them myself, and I also evaluate other people's proposals. So, idemo dalje. Quarrie Program 7. This is the major program of the EU for research and technological development, RTD. It's now called research and innovation. So the new word, novi reč inovacija. And FP7 has had a lot of money. 52,000 million euros. Preko 52 milijardi euro. That's a lot of money. And it would be nice to spend it. But unfortunately, there are a lot of scientists in Europe. And if you divide the money by the number of scientists, it's not a lot of money for a scientist. So this means there's a lot of competition, mnogo konkurencji. Now, the money has come from us, European taxpayers, including Serbian taxpayers, because our government, naša srpska vlada, it has paid its subscription for FP7, and therefore Serbian scientists are able to get funding for their projects. And so far we've been successful, quite successful. We could always do better, but we have had so far, my estimate is over 42 million euros for projects with partners in Serbia to be spent by those people in Serbia. Now, as Boško has already said, FP7 is coming to an end and will be replaced next year by Horizon 2020. So I shall say something about Horizon 2020. Now, I'm going to start by depressing you with telling you how difficult it is, and then I shall encourage you in terms of how you can take part without a lot of effort. So it is difficult, but there are opportunities for you to take part without all the effort. Success rates on average are only 5 to 10%, at least for the sorts of project proposals that Serbian scientists have been writing. So that's very competitive. Now, one of the aspects of this that you need to remember is that projects are international. And you asked about, do you need international partners? The answer is for FP7, yes. So your proposals are going to be competing, not just with other proposals in Serbia, but in the rest of Europe. So you will be competing with all of Europe, and you will also be competing with the best scientists in Europe. So there is a challenge, but the challenge can be overcome. Now, Boško talked about impact. Impact, very important. But for FP7 projects and Horizon 2020 projects to get the money, the impact has not got to be just here in Serbia. The impact has got to be in Europe as a whole. So your project has got to benefit Europe. And that's why Boško started at the beginning of this morning with the challenges ahead for the EU, because these research projects should be helping to overcome those challenges. Now, if you're doing research here in Serbia, your projects need to be world-class, and finally, you have to do it all na engleskom jeziku. Za mene engleski jezik nije problem, ali za vas vjerovatno bit će malo teže. However, projects can succeed, and they do succeed. So what I have on this slide is some information on the number of projects that have been funded so far. So until yesterday, I looked yesterday on the website, we have about 130 Serbian private companies and NGOs taking part in FP7 projects. In project proposals. Of those project proposals, we have around 45 of those private organizations were given the money. They were given the money to take part in about 45 projects. They were nearly all cooperative research, which means collaboration with other partners in other European countries to do research, to solve problems that the EU has identified. So far, 185 approximately projects with Serbian partners have been funded which includes SMEs, NGOs, local authorities and so on. But the point that you need to focus on is this. Nearly all Serbs were partners. 153 of 185, they were partners in other people's project consortia. That means that your chances of getting funding are going to be much better if you let somebody else do the writing. So, your target, therefore, is to be invited to join somebody else's consortium. You don't start by writing a large-scale collaborative research project if you have not had previous experience. Now, because this is almost over, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the detail of this, but the reason that I'm showing you this is because in Horizon 2020 there will be something very similar. The structure will change, but the overall approach is going to be very similar, as you will see. Cooperation, collaborative research. This is where the majority of Serbia's projects have been funded. There are 10 numbers here, 1 to 10, and these indicate different themes. So we have something like, if I can remember, health, agriculture, ICT, nanotechnologies, what else? Then we've got environment, energy, transport, social sciences and humanities, space, and then one, I've forgotten. But different themes, different areas of science. Then we have the Ideas programme, which is challenging Europe's brightest minds, and you see the number of Serbian projects that have been funded so far. Now, that doesn't mean that Serbia has no bright minds. You only have to look in the newspapers. Yesterday's newspaper, today's newspaper. There's information about Serbian scientists, Serbian physicists, who have solved a challenge that even Sir Isaac Newton couldn't solve. So we do have bright minds, but that's not always going to give you a successful project proposal. So, I won't say any more about that. People, focusing on the individual, developing the capacity of individuals. This is human capacity. A range of funding opportunities, some of them actually involving industry. This is industry academia, which involves transfer, exchange of people between industry and university faculties, to exchange information, to exchange skills, and to understand better in universities what are the needs of industry, and for industry to understand better what are the opportunities that universities can provide. And there's also opportunities of individuals going to other countries just to improve their skills. Finally, capacities. This is targeting mainly institutions. So these are opportunities, this time not for individuals, but for institutions to improve their capacity. And again, we have a scheme specifically targeting small and medium-sized enterprises, which is an opportunity for research to be done by universities for the benefit of the needs of industry. That's one of the schemes, and there are other schemes that are targeting different aspects of this. But because essentially these are all now finished, I'm not going to give any more details of that. What I shall do, though, is to give you some arrows, and one of the arrows will give an answer to your question about having a good idea. So, here you see the arrow here is going down. It starts at the top and it goes down. Because all the others, the arrows are at the bottom and they go up. Now the reason for this over here is because the ideas come from the European Commission. The ideas don't come from you. So the European Commission decides what area of research is required, and it therefore advertises project proposals to solve or give answers to that particular idea. And if your institution is able to provide potential answers, solutions to that idea, then you can submit a proposal. But if your idea is for that, and the Commission wants you to do that, then you're not going to get the money. For all of these schemes, though, the ideas come from you. So you can do research, because this is focusing on research. You can do research in any area of science you like. And if they like your proposal, they will give you the money. So those are two basic differences in the concept of funding proposals. For collaborative research, they identify the ideas that you need to write proposals for. For the other schemes, it's the other way around. Now, when I asked, who is a scientist, nobody put up their hands. But in fact, all of you potentially could have skills to offer that could allow you to take part in FP7 projects, and also Horizon 2020 in the future. So, you don't need to be a scientist to take part. Any institution can take part if it has a useful role to play, such as BSN. Balkan Security Network is at the moment a partner in an FP7 project that's running at the moment. It's in an agricultural theme, it's on market competitiveness in food products, and it's called Compete. Now, Boschko admits that he wasn't trained as a scientist. I was trained as a scientist, but I was trained as a chemist. I knew nothing about market competitiveness. But here we are, BSN is taking part in this project because we have skills that we can offer to the project consortium that will help the project to improve its impact and sustainability. And impact and sustainability are two important components of all EU funding projects. So, any person can take part if they have a useful role to play. Maybe you could be useful for dissemination activities, advertising, marketing, the results of the project, and that is effectively what BSN is doing. That is our role in this project consortium. Maybe you could provide a key project service, such as training or making a prototype, demonstrating if an idea is going to work, for example. You can even take part as an individual if you have a specific skill or expertise that the project needs. However, it is better to start as a partner in somebody else's consortium than for you to start writing project proposals yourself. So, just a bit of wording here about how much money you will get. The EU will not normally fund 100%. You will be given the grant with money to spend, but it will normally not fund everything that the project is going to cost. So, for SMEs, for the research that you do, for RTD activities, you will get 75% of your costs. Universities, institutes, non-profit organisations will also get 75%. If you're a large company, then you get only 50%. Different types of activities, though, will get a different percentage. Demonstration activities, only 50%. However, other activities, management, networking, training, coordinating, dissemination, those will be funded 100%. And you also get varying amounts for your overheads, indirect costs, vary from 20% to over 100%, depending on the type of institution that you are. Right. FP7 is not for solving urgent problems. Horizon 2020 will not be for solving urgent problems. It is primarily for strategic research, targeting long-term benefits to society, those challenges that Boschke was talking about at the beginning, challenges for Europe as a whole. So the benefits are going to be for European society, the benefits will not be for project partners. So you have to make sure that if you're going to get a proposal funded, the benefit has got to be identified for Europe as a whole. Now the whole process from having the first idea to the start of the research can take up to 2 years. So if you have an urgent problem, like replacing the glass in Sava Center, then FP7 and Horizon 2020 will not be for you. You need a different source of funding. Topics for research are not chosen by partners but by program committees. That's the top-down approach as I talked about. Now, final major FP7 calls were published last year. So, gotovo, kraj. Manje više, nema više. So, if you go into the website, so Boschke demonstrated one of the web pages earlier. This is where you will find information. And most of the information now is on projects that have already finished and calls that have closed. There are some web addresses there that you can look at later on for you to identify for yourselves how to get into FP7 websites. Now, just to give you some idea of what's happening, this list of calls I downloaded about a month ago, so it's out of date. And what I've put here in red, shading, those are the calls where the deadline has already gone. You're too late. And we're now left with, well, there's an ICT call where the deadline is in a month. In April, and we have an environment water innovation demonstration project where the deadline is the beginning of April. So, well, if you know somebody and you can get yourself invited to join their consortium, that's an opportunity for you. But the rest of it, I'm afraid you're too late. Now, Horizon 2020 will start next year. So what I recommend is that you start making plans for Horizon 2020. But how can you make plans if you don't know anything about it? And I have to admit that I don't know anything about it either, and neither does anybody else, because it is still being developed. So what I'm going to show you now are some slides that are taken from a presentation. It's a video presentation that you can find on the Horizon 2020 website. But there are 3 aspects of Horizon 2020 that are going to be the focus of the activities. Excellent science, competitive industries, so targeting people like you, and also a better society. So I've now got a slideshow, this is why I'm having to use my laptop and not the official laptop, because I suddenly realized that I've got different software for running the slideshow, and it would take too long for me to check on the other machine. So, into the other software, here we go, slideshow. Choose. Right. So this is taken from a video presentation on the Horizon 2020 website. So if you want to see the whole of this, then you go to the website and you can click and watch it anytime you like. So Horizon 2020, what is it all about? So here are those three areas: excellent science, competitive industries, and a better society. And it is targeting a strategy for growth and jobs. So that's the purpose of the money in Horizon 2020. So it is designed to bring more good ideas to the marketplace. So let's have a look at each of these three key objectives one at a time. And we'll start with excellent science. So supporting our excellent science base. Providing training and career development opportunities. So for the people who are scientists, there are opportunities here to improve their careers. Development of future and emerging technologies. This is opportunities for funding research in new areas that are likely to be important in the years to come. EU research infrastructures, you probably recognise this as being CERN, the High Energy Particle Physics infrastructure set up in Switzerland. Moving on now to competitive industries. Building industrial leadership in Europe. Boosting job creation is one of their key objectives. Supporting innovation, increasing market uptake. And notice that Boschke was saying, it's now innovation which is the important word. So it's moved on from technological development to innovation, because they see innovation as providing the opportunities for increasing jobs, developing new markets, new products, and therefore in creating growth for the future. So, stimulating private investment in R&I, research and innovation. So there will be many opportunities for those of you here in private companies to take part in projects with Horizon 2020. And I'll show you in a few minutes how you should target that as an objective for your next few years. Strengthening participation of innovative SMEs. And then moving on to the third of the three key objectives, a better society. Tackling societal challenges for a better society. And there's a picture of me. Oh no, it's not me. Even with, I need to put my glasses on. Longer and healthier lives. Well, I don't know whether I want one, but anyway, it would be nice to be healthier. Then I can throw away all my boxes of pills that I take every day. Reliable, clean, efficient energy. Boschke identified this as one of Europe's challenges that needs to be addressed in the years to come. That will provide us with a better quality society, use of resources more efficiently for protecting the planet. And yesterday I finished reviewing somebody's manuscript, somebody in Serbia, and their manuscript was on pollution from water coming out of disused mines in Serbia. And I won't tell you what the results were, but could do better. So there is pollution that can be reduced if we identify the methods necessary for this. Inclusive innovation and secure society. So this will be another one of the areas to be targeted by Horizon 2020 research. Safe, secure food supply. No aflatoxins in our sources of milk and milk products, jigarica, etc. So this will be research on how to improve security of food in the future. Smart green transport. We shall all be driving around in little white, well, whatever those are, minibuses. Jeden from Nikola Tesla Aerodrome. So, tackling EU level challenges such as, what does this say? Oh, natural recycling, environment, conservation, eugenics, green protection. Lots of words that sound good. Efficient use of resources, creating affordable green electricity. Interesting concept, green electricity. Never mind. Projects to improve that. Transport networks. One day our corridor desert will look like that. And this is passenger per kilometre relation predicted to double. Oh, yes, this is difficult. Development of more intelligent and safer transport systems. We should be driving without our hands continuously instead of only partially. So, smart green transport. And this is a photograph, it looks like McDonald's, Terrazia. Is it? No. Anyway, we shall all be feeding the planet. We shall all be, yes, feeding the planet. Investment for a safe, secure food supply. They will make sure that our hamburgers and beef burgers are fit for human consumption without making us fat. Safer internet. Improvement of the competitiveness of the European security. There's a role there somewhere, I believe, for Balkan Security Network. So, what's this? Pills. A resistance to antibiotics. New treatments and cooperation at the EU level. So, I shall still continue to take my pills, but they'll be a different colour. Participation, I like this part of the presentation because it makes people enthusiastic to take part until I tell them what it actually means. Participation will be made easier. You might remember that figure that Boschko showed of all the little circles around the big circle and saying that it's a complex process. Well, they claim, and nobody's seen the documents yet, but they claim that participation will be made easier. Because they will introduce a single set of rules for all participants. Simpler funding rates for projects, easier access to applicants. Now, I'm not certain whether that means easier access of the Commission to applicants, or whether it's easier access of the applicants to the money. We shall find out. Uniform evaluation criteria, easier grant management, simpler rules. Well, we shall see. Evidently the traffic's not moving as quickly as it could do. Fewer and more targeted audits. So, this is what they are planning. The problem is, though, that if they make it easier for people to apply, unless there's more money, it means that there will be more competition. So, it's difficult for me to judge whether it will actually be easier for people to get projects funded in the future, despite what they say in the presentation. So we shall see. So this is completing the European research area. and that was the end of the slideshow. So a few more slides on what do you do next. If I find out where my buttons are. Okay. So that was the presentation on Horizon 2020. I'm going to say a bit about the budget. There's going to be more than 52,000 million euros, so it will sound good. This was the planned budget before the 8th of February, and the figure to look at is about 78,000 million. However, when they had the meeting of ministers on the 8th of February, they decided for the first time in the EU's history to cut the budget. So the total budget is therefore reduced, even though it looks as if this section here, which is where research will take place, it looks as if that is going to be increased. We shall see. The negotiations for the budget are still in progress. However, on the 8th of February, Nature Breaking News published the following article. And it says, Europe's leaders slash, which means cut, research budget. So they always like to have a headline that's going to make people want to read their magazines. So bad news for Europe Union's massive research programme. They plan to slash the budget, to cut the budget from 77.6 down to 69.2. So at the moment, the latest meeting of European Parliament, which was yesterday, the European Parliament did not agree to this reduction. But they didn't say no. They're going to negotiate further. So it's uncertain yet whether this amount will be increased or not. Let's see, what does this say? Okay, let's just focus on what is planned in these areas here. Horizon Research and Innovation is equivalent to the Ideas programme of FP7. Marie Curie scheme is equivalent to the Human Potential programme in FP7. Infrastructures, that's also in FP7, so that will continue. Competitive industries, this includes funding for ICT, which is in FP7. These components are part of nanotechnologies, materials and processes. Biotechnology is in theme number 2 on agriculture and biotechnology. Better society, we have these challenges here. Health, here we have again agriculture and bioeconomy, energy, transport, social sciences, humanities, and finally at the bottom, environment. So essentially all of the components of FP7 will be continued in Horizon 2020. Just to finish with the latest information on the timetable of what will happen for Horizon 2020, at the moment, for the first half of this year, they're having a series of stakeholder workshops to identify the content of the early programs for Horizon 2020. The final budget needs to be agreed by June of this year. Otherwise there could be delays in getting the project started. The formal text will also be adopted in the summer of this year. The unofficial draft work programs for the first calls also will be available in the summer this year. The first calls are likely to be at the end of this year, late 2013, with the official start date on the 1st of January next year. But for Horizon 2020, like FP7, it will focus on international collaborative projects, so you need an international network of contacts. And this is what I'm going to target for a couple of minutes to give you some information on how you can make sure that you get invited to join somebody else's consortium. So here's Mapa Puta. For you to get experience in preparing project proposals, and you don't start by preparing project proposals, you start down here. By developing your network of potential project partners. Which means that whenever you go to Siam, trade fair, or a conference, or a meeting abroad somewhere, or in Serbia where there are international participants, you make sure that you talk to people who could be useful in the future as partners for a consortium. Not this year, not next year, but maybe in 2 or 3 years' time. This is planning for the future. Then you could start with a proposal for local funds for a small project in Serbia, then a proposal for a small bilateral international project, and there are several ministries in the government that provide funds for bilateral international projects. Write a proposal for EPA, and you'll hear more about EPA in a few minutes. Then be invited to be a partner in somebody else's Horizon 2020 project. Be a work package leader, which is a major management role. And finally, write your own project proposals for Horizon 2020. Now, if you're starting from the beginning, having not done anything yet, writing project proposals, this could take 10 years. If you already have some experience of writing projects, then you could be starting here, and it may be only 5 to 6 years before you're in a position with enough experience to put together your own consortium for a project proposal. But it's not going to happen quickly. Now, how do you get yourselves invited to join somebody else's consortium? I talked about trade fairs and conferences and meetings. I did a survey at the end of last year asking coordinators of project proposals, where did you find your SMEs? How did you get the SMEs to put in your consortium? And these are the answers that I got back. The majority, 6, using personal contacts or using an internet search. So, your company website ought to be a major opportunity from somebody from outside to find out what you're doing, to identify the potential that you could provide to a consortium in the future. So, personal contacts and company websites appear to be the major 2 mechanisms for you to be invited to join somebody else's consortium. So that's what I would recommend that you target in the future. So, the ministry provides national contact points who are people that are trained and given the information on sources of project proposals in different areas. And this is a list that you can see on the Ministry of Education and Science website of the national contact points at the moment for FP7, and they will, I guess, they will continue for Horizon 2020. So for more information on any aspect of FP7 or Horizon 2020, either contact the relevant NCP or me, and I've put an email address down for me. And later on, if anybody wants to see what a genuine project proposal looks like, I'm happy to demonstrate one. But for now, to je to. Hvala na pažnji.
Thank you,
Right.
Steve. If you like, perhaps maybe right away, because of the setup.
Oh, that's an
To
idea.
demonstrate the
Yes, but it
project.
might put them off, seeing how many pages. Okay, brzo. Samo. Let's see, Adobe Reader. Right. Let's find my. This is one I prepared earlier, as they say. FP7 down here. Can't we find documents? Right. I'm slightly reluctant to show you how many pages there are, because there are over 100 pages. So this is one of the reasons why I recommend that you do not start by trying to write your own project proposal. Get somebody else to write it. Because if you take part as a partner in somebody else's project proposal, then all you have to write is about 2 pages. 2 strany. The project coordinator needs to write 120 stran. So your life is going to be much easier if you are invited to join somebody else's consortium. Now, I was trying to avoid having to write this proposal, but nobody else was prepared to do it. So in the end, I typed this in 6 weeks. I had no Christmas bez Božića, engleski Božić, i srpski Božić, i Nova Godina. I was sitting at home typing, and I was typing up to 16 hours a day. This was a lot of work. And my proposal came third, and it got no money. So third is not good enough. You need to be first to get the money for this sort of project. I was asking for 6 million euros, and the Commission didn't give it to me. So, anyway, so just to show you the sorts of information that you will need to provide, and the only thing that will be different is the length of sections in different types of project proposal. You will need to justify why the project is needed. So, the first part of this proposal is justification for why the research was needed. So having established, by typing a lot of words, by providing graphs and figures and lots of references, and I'll move on to the end of this section where I put my reference list. And look, here we go. These are the references. That section justifying why the research was needed, that had 91 references to other sources of information to justify and provide the evidence for why the research was required. And then we had the description of the activities of the project. Boschke talked about Gantt charts on one of his slides. This is a Gantt chart, a series of timelines showing how the different components of the project will fit together. I had 16 partners from all around the world, from Australia, China, Kazakhstan, Mexico, as well as Europe. So it took me a lot of time, a lot of emails, and a lot of time waiting for people to reply. People have no sense of urgency. When there's a deadline, one thing that you should know about a deadline, with the European Commission, Rock je rock. If you are 1 second late, your proposal has failed. And I was actually shown a piece of paper, a printout, by a group of scientists who were complaining that their proposal was not accepted because it was submitted about 5 seconds after the 5 p.m. deadline. And they had an official printout saying 500.5 seconds. Sorry, failed. So, rock je rock. Deliverables. What we're going to... this is part of the contract that you have with the Commission. You have to guarantee to deliver results. And this is what we guarantee to deliver. Well, I don't think we would ever manage it, but anyway. And then this is the description of the activities, pages and pages. I won't bore you with any of the information. It's all about genetics and wheat. Boring stuff. But we do eat a lot of bread. Boschko sent me an email. Punch of that. Then more emails coming in. Then more information. There were 9 of these work programs describing the activities. Dissemination at the end, international conference. And then it moves on to a risk analysis. You remember Boschko talked about risks. Here is our risk analysis to identify and avoid problems. Then we have, this is a PERT diagram showing how the sections fit together. And then implementation, this is mainly about management and the budget. So this is the use of resources for our consortium. So 5 pages, I think, on the management structure and how it's going to work. Then information on each of the partners. This is where your 1 page comes in, plus another page where you write how you're going to contribute to the work. Blah, 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 blah. And then, let's just get on to the end. There's a bit there about the budget. Oh no, we haven't got that far. There were 16 partners, so there's a lot of this. Consortium as a whole, justifying why every partner was essential to the consortium. Tables, 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 and then there's somewhere there's some information about justifying the budget. Resources to be committed. And then the final section, impact. You remember that word impact in that triangle that Boschko showed earlier? You have to provide detailed information to justify the impact that you predict that your project is going to have. And you have different areas of impact, expected impacts listed by the work program up at the top. You may not be able to read the words, but you have to answer the impact question that the Commission has stated. We want projects to solve this problem. So you have to provide the impact that your project will have in solving that problem. And there's another section on impact somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. I can't be bothered. Let's just move on to the end of it. We're up to page 119, almost at the end. This was about 10 days before the deadline that I got that far. And actually, I was still modifying parts of the text up to half an hour before pre-rock. But I had already submitted the previous versions. So if I didn't have time to include all of the last-minute changes, at least the proposal was essentially already uploaded. Ethical issues, and finally, gender, consideration of the gender aspects. The Commission likes to have lots of women taking part in projects, quite rightly too. So do I. Right.
Thank you, Steve. Nadam se da je bilo korisna i ova demonstracija jednog FP7 projekta. Doduše, kao što reče Steve, nije baš zgodno da vas ne obeshrabrim, jel? Ovo je jedan od najzahtevnijih programa i samim tim i ovaj model projekta je jedan od najkompleksnijih koji imate. Uglavnom za IPU, recimo, projekta će biti nešto i manje veličine i sa manje detaljnih informacija i tako dalje.